For years, I thrived in the high-pressure business world, but the workaholic life finally caught up with me. I was 35, very overweight, in chronic pain with severe mobility issues, terrible diet, no exercise. My health was a complete wreck. Then I went to a gentle yoga class and felt truly relaxed. The stress just melted away. I went from a size 18 to a size 8. I stopped getting sick. Pain disappeared. I learned to open my heart and I felt happy for the first time in years. So I said goodbye to the business world and started teaching. Yoga doesn't have to be strenuous. The easiest movements can trigger major release of chronic symptoms no matter your age.
Healing Yoga. Yoga for real people with real problems.
Hello, I'm Deborah Devine, and that was my story. Airplane travel was a regular part of my life, and during those long journeys, I had so many challenges with my body, including stiffness and dullness in my legs and my hips, sciatica flare-ups, as well as shoulder, neck, and arm challenges. But then I found gentle yoga. These gentle movements allowed me to release layers of tension and cultivate more vitality in my lower extremities. I felt stronger and more able to manage my luggage without fear of injuring myself. I could finally soar. Today, I'm sharing a very simple yoga practice that you can do before, during, and after your journey. We take off by releasing the whole back line of the body. Then we open up the front line and get into the hips. We'll work the arms and the shoulders as well as the entire spine. Finally, we come in for a smooth landing with a very restful Shavasana. Do the whole series, or if you're busy, just 1 or 2 poses will help make all the difference in how you feel on your journey. Let's start the healing. Joining me today, Heather. Hi, Heather. Heather finds flight travel very constricting. Those seats are getting smaller and smaller. And Tony. Hi, Tony. Tony's been traveling for years, and his yoga practice has helped him feel grounded. Now let's go into dancer pose. We have a chair here to support us to keep our balance, and we're using a belt to hang on to the ankle, but if you can reach for your ankle with your hand, that's wonderful. We'll begin with the left leg. So we take the loop of the belt around the ankle, and then using the left hand, we're just going to bend the knee and begin to press the ankle into the foot, and the belt is resisting back. We're going to ground through the right foot and take long, slow, smooth in-breaths and long, slow, smooth, and complete out-breaths. Opening up the front of the hip is a really wonderful idea if you're going to be spending a couple of hours seated on a plane. You can squeeze the glute and then draw the knee back a little bit further, but don't go too far. Use the breath to open up space and create length in the front of the spine. Now let's switch sides. Go to the opposite side with the loop around the right foot. And then again, grounding through the left side, being really strong in the left leg, and then pressing the ankle against the loop of the belt and resisting with the belt against the loop. Draw the shoulder blades down the back and in behind the heart. Open up the collarbones. This is a wonderful way to create a little bit of awareness in the upper body. When we're carrying lots of luggage, we can really have a lot of strain in the shoulders and the upper body. Now we'll let go of dancer and move into pigeon. This is one of my favorite poses. You can use the high back of the chair, or if you'd like to swing the chair around the other way, that might be a little bit easier if your hip rotators are very tight. We'll begin with the left leg. We can bring the foot up and have it rest on the chair seat or on the chair back. We are getting into the IT band. We're wringing out all kinds of tension out of the side of the leg and into the hip rotators. Pressing down into the heel, energizing the whole leg, energizing the right glute, and then going to the left glute, wringing things out. Externally rotating the left leg and engaging dorsiflexion with the left foot, pressing the heel away and spreading the toes apart. Wonderful. Working with pigeon pose before you get on a long flight is an excellent idea, especially if you're dealing with sciatica. What we're doing is we're wringing out the piriformis muscle. The sciatic nerve travels either in between a separation of the piriformis or it goes underneath. Let's come into downward facing dog, modified. We can take our hands on the chair back or the chair seat, depending on how flexible you are. And we begin to walk back. Now, if your arms or your shoulders are being compromised, you're experiencing pain, just rest your forearms on the chair back. Take your feet back further and really extend the spine. Take the sit bones and tailbone back. Allow the heads of the femurs, the upper leg bones, to really move behind you. This will free up the pelvis and allow the spine to pour out, creating space in between all of the discs. Now we're going to start to lengthen out the hamstrings one at a time by bending the knees, one at a time, moving the hips from side to side. It's important to get a lot of movement in our legs and our hips before we sit for long periods of time. And of course, when you're on the plane, you'll want to be moving around a lot as well. Now, let's come back with the feet toward the chair. Take a moment and see what just happened. Now just allow that sensation to integrate. We've moved a lot of energy in the lower part of the body. Please continue while we break. And when we come back, we'll have more healing yoga for air travel. So, coming into downward facing dog one more time. Walking the feet back, widening the feet, internally rotating the upper legs.
Healing yoga. Yoga for real people with real problems.
Hi, my name is Heather Murdoch. I'm 62 years of age. I'm lucky to be able to travel at least once a year. I find when I travel, it's a very stressful experience, long lineups, not a lot of seat space. So I find that when I practice yoga, I'm able to do some stretches that help to relieve and alleviate the stress. And I find the practice very beneficial for releasing tightness and stiffness in the body.
Welcome back. In today's episode, we're using our yoga practice to help us deal with air travel. Heather, what does it feel like after you've come off a long flight?
I find when I come off the flight, my shoulders are tight, my low back is tight, my legs hurt. So I really need to get up and move.
Mm-hmm. These next few poses are going to be wonderful to help release all of the areas that you just described. Let's come down into seated pigeon. We'll be sitting on the front edge of the seat. And we may need to move the buttock flesh out of the way so that the sit bones can really make contact with the seat. We can take the feet a little bit closer into the midline, and then the right foot comes up and over, resting on the left knee. Very similar to what we were doing in the last poses. If this is a challenge, you could always just let your left leg come out a little bit more and cross your ankles over each other. All right, now we're going to go to the grounded leg, and we're just going to move things back and forth. Feel the head of the leg bone moving inside the hip socket. We're creating synovial fluid to make things feel a bit more smooth here. We can also take the knee and make it come up and down a few times. This is going to rotate the femur, the head of the upper leg bone in the hip socket, releasing more synovial fluid. Now we'll come over to the opposite side. If you're sitting next to loved ones, they probably won't mind if we do a little bit of leg work on the plane. And, maybe if you want to make a new friend that's sitting beside you, a stranger, maybe they'll join you in your practice. Now we'll take the left knee and move it up and down. When we spend a lot of time in airplanes, we can really feel ungrounded. We can feel unsettled. Sometimes when you're traveling a lot, you don't even know what city you're waking up in. So these poses that are really focused on the lower extremities and the poses that are really focused on moving energy downward are very soothing on the nervous system. We'll unravel the legs. And if you have the benefit of sitting in an aisle seat, you'll be able to stretch your legs out very easily. So you can take your left leg, let it come out, engage the leg, hug muscle to bone, plant the sit bones, inhale, lift everything on the front of the spine, and then exhale, just come forward a little bit. Come forward from the hip creases. Feel that lovely stretch down the hamstring. Then we'll come back up to center, and we'll inhale, get nice and long, and then we're going to turn on the out breath toward the knee. The heart is turning toward the knee. And then we're going to inhale again, lengthening, exhaling, coming down a little bit closer to the knee. Now come on back up and straighten things out. Let that integrate, and then just shift yourself over and let the right leg come out. And we'll do the same thing on the right. engaging muscle energy in the leg. Inhaling, lifting on the front of the spine. Exhaling, moving forward. Try to avoid crunching over here and compressing the front of the spinal discs. Keep the front of the spine nice and open and free, and see that we've got this wonderful opening of the diaphragm here when we keep the body open. Now we're going to simulate actually being in the airplane. It's kind of hard to sit on the front of the seat in an airplane seat. So let's come back and have our backs resting toward the chair back. Over the course of a long flight, you're stuck in one position and your low back discs start to compress more and more. The top part of the body starts to creep forward and we start to get compression of the lungs and the diaphragm. So by keeping the front of the spine high and supporting the lumbar curve of the low back, that's really important. If you can roll up a scarf or a sweater and place it here, that can feel really wonderful. But barring that, you can always just take your arm and slide it through the low back and then see if your low back can be supported with your arm here. This is also helping us get a little bit more opening through the collarbones and the shoulders. Let's switch sides and we'll move the opposite arm in behind the low back. Long, slow, smooth in-breath. Long, slow, smooth, and complete out-breath. Let's talk about air quality. When we're in an airplane for a long period of time, we notice that it's so incredibly dry. It's important to stay hydrated, not only just to keep ourselves moist and prevent ourselves from drying out during the long flight, but also to encourage us to get up and use the restroom. That is going to keep our circulation going, and our legs and our hips will just love us for it. Now, please continue to enjoy another round on the left side and the right while we break. And when we come back, we'll have more healing yoga for air travel. Allowing the right arm to come out, and then moving the left hand in behind the low back.
Healing Yoga. Yoga for real people with real problems.
Hello, my name is Tony Murdoch. I'm 62 years old. I fly a lot, and one of the problems I have with flying is the hours, the jet lag, uncomfortable seats, air quality. One of the things that I find is really helpful is yoga, breathing, meditation, and I do this before a flight, and it's very important during a flight, I have found, to stretch, get up, move around on the plane, but also just doing yoga in a chair has really, really helped, and it makes me very comfortable in being in the new location and feeling ready to go.
Welcome back. In today's episode, we're using our practice to help us with air travel. Tony, what are some of the techniques that you find really work dealing with all of the perils of air travel?
Well, there are two problems I have with air travel. One is feeling grounded afterwards, but also air quality is an issue on the planes. I've gotten very sick on the plane before. So what happens is I try to do some deep breathing practices, and there's one that I found very, very helpful, and that's just taking a deep inhalation and then forcing the air out until there's nothing left, and then putting out a little bit more. And it helps to clear the lungs of anything that I may have picked up while I'm on the plane.
Well, these next poses are going to be really wonderful to help us ground. We're coming down into Viparita Karani, legs up the wall. So we'll be arriving at our hotel. Maybe our legs and our hips are going to feel really tight. A wonderful way to combat that is to come down into this wonderful grounding pose with either the legs on the wall or on the chair back. You could also be using a sofa. So we begin with the feet together. And we're just going to circle the feet around one at a time, giving the ankles a little bit of mobility. You can have your arms coming out in cactus arms if that feels good, or you can leave them a little bit closer out to the sides of the body. Now we'll take our feet a little bit wider apart on the wall or the chair and continue to circle things around, maybe moving in the opposite direction and spreading the toes nice and wide. After we spend a long time on the plane, the legs can feel really heavy and dull. And this is an excellent pose to remove that sense of fullness out of the legs. The lymph has been trapped down there. The blood has been trapped down there for a while. Now we'll take the soles of the feet together and we can rock back and forth a few times with the pelvis, or we can butterfly the legs back and forth. Using the complete out breaths is a wonderful way to connect to the earth and let you feel really grounded. We can use the in-breaths to feel like we are rejuvenating ourselves after dealing with all of the hustle and bustle and energy of the airport. Our legs can feel very swollen. They can feel full. And when we come down into legs up the wall pose, what we're doing is we're draining all of that lymph out of the lower extremities. It pools in the low belly, and then it cascades into the upper part of the chest where it can be purified. When we're sitting in an airplane, we're really sitting on the hamstrings, and that's blocking off the flow of energy down and up the legs, which causes that edema, that swelling. Another wonderful way to take Viparita Karani is to use one leg long and one leg bent. And then you can continue to rock that bent leg and see the difference between the right and left sides. We're clearing out lymph that is collecting on the inner legs, down at the bottom of the pelvis. When we sit, we're collapsing into the hip creases, and things can get stuck here. So this movement, this very gentle movement, is so incredibly effective. Now, left foot comes down and the right foot comes up. Rocking the left leg back and forth. Moving that lymph and using the breath. Long, slow, smooth in breaths and long, slow, smooth, and complete out breaths. Please continue to enjoy variations of legs up the wall. And when we come back after the break, we'll have more healing yoga for air travel. Now we'll let both legs come long.
Healing yoga. Yoga for real people with real problems.
Airplane tray tables have been shown to harbor many germs and bacteria. Take a sanitizer on board with you and clean any surfaces around your seat that you may come into contact with in order to prevent colds and flu.
Welcome back. In this episode, we've been using our practice to help us deal with air travel. We've been working with the lower extremities to stretch things out. We were working with the spine to release tension, and the upper arms as well to help us with our luggage. And now we're going to be coming in for a soft landing in Shavasana. So when you get back to your hotel room and you've done your legs up the wall, now we're going to lie down and really ground using some bolsters or rolled up blankets or towels. We are using a lot of support for the legs. Head's going to be supported with a blanket, and then the bolsters are widthwise on the mat, supporting the legs. You can have a seat right here. And supporting the legs and making sure that the heels are grounded. So if you've got a rolled up blanket or rolled up towels, it's a wonderful way to just keep the low back happy by lifting the legs, allowing the back of the neck and the back of the head to be supported, and letting the shoulders open up can really open things up through the collarbones. If the legs are externally rotated, that might be putting a little bit of pressure on your low back. So if you give your upper legs a bit of an inner spiral with the knees and the feet kind of pointing in, resetting the hips, and then just let the legs go. Let the legs go, let the feet flop out. Feel your breath cycles expanding you, widening you. After all of the excitement of traveling, you might feel a little bit out of sorts. This is a wonderful way to bring yourself back into balance. Take a long, slow, smooth in-breath into the feet, into the legs. Breathing in light and spaciousness, and exhaling tension. Exhaling, holding. Feeling yourself connected to the earth. Long, slow, smooth in-breath into the belly, into the heart, into the lungs. Breathing in light and spaciousness, and exhaling tension, exhaling, holding. Left eyebrow falls to the left. Right eyebrow falls to the right. Let the forehead come back to the crown. And feel the front brain drop toward the back brain, leaving some room behind the forehead. Take a long, slow, smooth in-breath into the entire body, filling up with light and spaciousness, and exhaling the last remnants of tension, holding, gripping. Please continue to enjoy Shavasana for at least another 15 minutes, and we'll see you next time on Healing Yoga. Namaste.